What's going on, YouTube? So buyers in the flagship luxury SUV space demand a lot from their family haulers, including luxury, features, and of course, refinement. And one of the leading options for years has been the Mercedes GLS. So, is this still a great pick for 2026? And is there anything new? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Like always, let's start this review off with a quick spec dump. So under the hood of the GLS, you'll find several different powertrain selections. We today have the GLS 450. That is a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder with mild hybrid, making 375 horsepower. It's paired to a 9-speed automatic transmission, and with 4MATIC all-wheel drive, combined fuel economy comes in at 21 mpg.
Now, the base price for 2026 is $90,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, we'll be taking this out for a spin to show you the performance of the powertrain. We'll also get things like our sound level reading to see how quiet this flagship is, and at the end discuss resale and reliability.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood because, of course, if you're spending this much money, you want a super luxurious exterior design and interior design, so let's get into that. Now, as far as the exterior is concerned with this GLS, it has a very prominent front end design. I think that's really a requirement when we're talking about a flagship luxury SUV, is that people want them to have bold design presences that really get people's attention. This certainly does that well. So like I was saying, you've got the bold grille. We have 4 distinct bars running across the front. Today's example also has the AMG line, so we've got some more aggressive elements, particularly in the lower fascia, but still plenty of the silver and chrome, as you can see. Unless you choose the additional AMG Night package, that will give you a smoked chrome finish and some dark elements around the exterior. Now, moving over here to our headlights, of course, you have premium full LED headlights as standard equipment. This is a projector LED low and high beam, crystal design again, and the daytime running light and turn signal indicator right through there. There are no traditional fog lights, though, down here in the lower part. And then as we walk to the back, of course, you'll see the same elegant appearance continue.
Yeah, absolutely. What about some individual design elements? Well, we have a spoiler up top, a wiper right through here, a lot of chrome going on to, signify you spent the big bucks. And let's take a look at our tail lights. So we have a LED brake light, LED reverse light, and LED amber turn signal indicator. As expected, all of the elements are LED. Now, as we drop down, you have a little bit more chrome, dual integrated exhaust outlets, and when you have the tow hitch like this one, you can tow 7,700 pounds.
Moving on to the wheels, you have a ton of different options ranging in size from 21-inch alloys on the low end to 23-inch alloys on your upper end examples. We have the middle ground here. This is the 22-inch alloy wheel with the multi-spoke contrast design. I think these look really fantastic, and it's very much a classic, Mercedes-Benz kind of look. One thing I did want to mention is that this has a standard air suspension, so you have some height variation that you can choose from, and of course you have the body color wheel surround. Moving up here to our mirrors, these are fully loaded as standard equipment, so that includes things like auto dimming and power folding, in addition to heating and blind spot monitoring.
Now, overall vehicle length of the GLS is 205 inches, and you can certainly see here at the side that this is a big SUV. We'll talk about how much space is on the inside a little bit later. Design touches, we have chrome window surrounds. We also have raised roof rails up top. And I want to mention a 2026 change for the GLS is the fact that you have a couple new colors. Silicon gray as well as moonlight white will be added to the GLS 450 lineup. Now, when it comes to your safety systems, Mercedes doesn't mess around. You get all those as standard equipment. That will even include advanced features like adaptive cruise control. But guys, there's an impressively luxurious cabin inside, so let's get into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then, we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from our long-term vehicle videos to our side-by-side comparisons, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's move to the inside. First, here's the Mercedes key fob. It's their typical key fob, kind of the older design with some metal trim down at the bottom. Of course, you have standard smart entry. You can remote start with the Mercedes Me application. And let's walk up to the vehicle here. Just grab behind the handle. That will unlock the door and fold the mirrors outward. And then welcome inside the interior of the GLS. Of course, it looks quite opulent. And before we get into any of those details, though, we'll start by talking about the seats. So standard on the GLS 450 is the MB-Tex. It's a leatherette material. However, today's example has upgraded to the real leather seating. This is available in, of course, black, as you can see, but also a lot more colors if you want something a little bit more vibrant. Feels super nice and supple. You have quilting and stitching details. We even have the little pillow installed up here for the super comfortable headrest. You can further upgrade these seats if you want to go to a full Nappa leather for the most premium experience. Regardless, though, you'll find that you have a ton of adjustments over here on the door trim, including a power thigh extension and headrest. You also have memory seats as standard equipment, heating as standard equipment, and ventilation as standard equipment. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now getting in, you might have saw that there was the available running boards. Those are really more of an aesthetic detail. They're certainly not really needed to get inside. And we also have the optional soft close doors. Now let's look around at the rest of the cabin materials. So as you'd expect, really beautiful finishes. We have leather through here with stitching details, leather in the center section, soft touch plastic across the top, and then we're going to notice a lot of wood. This is an open pore walnut. It's a small optional fee for that. Up top here we have the full MB-Tex leatherette covered dashboard with stitching details, beautiful wood going all through here, real metal vent details, real metal controls, and then tons and tons of wood and leather all through the center console. Everything fits together super solidly as we expect from a German luxury SUV. Let's fire it up with the push button start. Now jumping into some individual details of this interior, the GLS will retain its dual screen arrangement for 2026. So you've got two 12.3-inch displays. This side, of course, is the gauge cluster, and it continues to be highly customizable. You can swipe through basically whatever type of information you want to prioritize at that given time, such as navigation. Furthermore, you can get a head-up display, but you need to choose the Pinnacle trim to unlock that feature. As we pull back to the steering wheel, we have the Sport Design AMG steering wheel. I really like this. It's super luxurious, leather-covered airbag cover in the middle. You have some touch-sensitive buttons as well. And then standard power tilt and telescoping is included. Heating is optional. Now let's take a look at interior storage. We'll open up the split console here and you'll find some donuts inside. That's because the donut is the Car Confections logo and we like to put them in the console to compare to the competition. Today we have 10 donuts inside, which is a little under the dozen that's required to pass the donut test and definitely less than some of the competition, but it's not terrible. And you have some additional space as well. As we come up here and slide back this piece of wood trim, you'll find your standard wireless phone charging pad, 2 of your 9 different USB ports inside of the interior, and then you have your couple cup holders, which have available heating and cooling, by the way. And I should point out that your armrests also are heated. Now, moving up here to our shifter, we have the Mercedes just column electronic shifter. Nothing complicated. Press up for reverse. When you go into reverse, we've got the 360-degree camera system. This is standard on every GLS. You can also kind of click into here to start to spin around the vehicle in 3D and check out all of its different surroundings. The graphics are top-notch, as you expect from Mercedes-Benz. Press that P to park. You also have an electronic parking brake, of course. And then let's take a look down here into this area. You have the touchpad, which you can use to control the infotainment system. Obviously, it is also a touchscreen. You got some drive modes, fingerprint reader to sync your vehicle settings, and then over here on this side is where you find the volume knob for the audio systems. So a Burmester sound system is standard on every GLS. This one has 13 speakers, but if you want to be extra bougie, you can get a 29 speaker high-end sound system. That's about $4,500. So this is probably going to be enough for most people, but let's take a sample and you can figure it out for yourself. Yeah, so overall sound quality of this system is fantastic. It definitely fills up the cabin nicely, and regardless, you still get the beautiful detailed metal speaker grills throughout the interior. Okay, let's move on to the center section here. So, of course, if you paid attention to some of the recent Mercedes products, you know that they've been moving to more screens and less buttons. But since this has the older style interior still, one of the benefits, I think, is that you still get the physical metal climate controls. So this is a 4-zone automatic climate system. You can also get an available 5th zone for the 3rd row if you prefer that option. And it's very simple to adjust your temperature up and down like so. If I press the menu button there, that's where I can get to some additional functions, and I can switch right through here. Oh, never mind. Actually, we have the 5th zone of climate. I apologize for that discrepancy. As you can see, I can adjust all of those different zones right there. Now, we're already looking at the display, so let's take a look at it. It is MBUX 12.3 inches, like I was mentioning earlier. The actual functionality of the system, not very different from the other Mercedes products. The orientation, of course, is just kind of the older layout. You have built-in navigation, you have standard wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and then you have about 10 million different settings that you can get into over here. Up top, we have the auto-dimming mirror with the HomeLink remote. You don't have the digital camera rear view function, though. And then lastly, let me go ahead and slide back the sunshade for the standard panoramic sunroof. As you can see, nice and large piece of glass on board, and the front panel opens up.
But we've got to talk about the rear seats of this flagship luxury SUV and what you're going to find back here. We'll first start by talking about the space, which I'm incredibly impressed to tell you. We have about 42 inches of legroom, 40 inches of headroom. That means we're very similar in terms of overall legroom and headroom to something like a Cadillac Escalade, so that's certainly very large for this segment of vehicle. I brought along the official Car Confections ruler as well. The reason I do that is so I can get a realistic knee room figure. Behind Drew's 5'8" seating position, I'm 5'9" for reference. We are sitting in that full 1 foot of knee room. That is fantastic. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seats. And let's talk about the seats. So you might notice over here on the door panel that we actually have fully power adjusting seats. That's actually a standard feature here on the GLS that allows you to slide them forward and back, recline them a good distance, and it even has features like a power headrest, which is really, really bougie. I will say, though, these headrests are not shaped right, in my opinion. They're kind of triangular and push forward, so it kind of rams your head forward, so it's not actually all that comfortable, in my opinion. Now, captain's chairs are also standard equipment. Overall seating capacity in this model is 6 passenger, and you have this nice armrest here as well. Now, what about other features? We have a cup holder, and then about the size of a Dixie cup for that one. And then you have the most vents I've ever seen in the rear of a vehicle at all. You have a vent right here, you have a vent in the B-pillar, and you have a vent in the roof. So 3 vents here for each passenger in the rear. You also have your own climate controls for the 5-zone setup, and then down below, 2 USB ports. Heated rear seats are an available option, and you'll see that over there on the door trim. We do have that option, as are rear window sunshades, which we do not have on this example. The rest of the door trim, nicely done, lots of leather, and there's also quite a ton of storage down in the bottom, which I'm very surprised to tell you. Now we need to head to the 3rd row of seats to see what that's like. Now, in order to get back there, they have made it really easy. There's one little switch right here. You just go ahead and pull that, and it will go ahead and power slide out of the way and tilt the seat up and out of the way. Now, this particular unit is not functioning exactly right today, so we'll go ahead and just cut to me in the 3rd row. And now that I'm back in the 3rd row, Oh my, this is a very nice third row. We're sitting at about 35 inches of legroom and about 39 inches of headroom. I think the headroom is incredibly impressive. It's really going to be not that much smaller than something like an Escalade. In terms of legroom, it's definitely going to be a little bit smaller, but it's not a huge difference. I brought along the official Car Confections ruler, and I'm sitting at maybe a half inch of additional knee room with the seat slid all the way back. Of course, keep in mind that you can slide it forward a little bit more. The thing I'm incredibly impressed with is the thigh support. You're sitting so far off the ground, it really feels just as comfortable as the second row of seats. Now, there are just 2 third row seats back here, so they're nice and wide, but you don't have capacity for 3 people. You have 2 USB-C ports through here, a couple storage cubbies, and a cup holder. And then, of course, you have vents coming out of the ceiling. You do not have your own, climate controls to adjust your temperature back here, but of course, you can just tell the people in the front to adjust your temperature to whatever you'd like. Heated third row seats are also available. So as far as how this rates on the third row rating scale, I'm going to say this is fit for an adult. Of course, walking up to the tailgate, you have a hands-free power one as standard equipment. And let's talk about overall cargo capacity. We're sitting at about 17 cubic feet behind the third row of seats. If we fold those down, we're looking at about 42 cubic feet, and then as a maximum 84 cubic feet in the GLS. Now, as far as how that compares to some of the rivals, like Cadillac Escalade, that's certainly going to be quite a bit smaller, so that's really a big difference between the two. It's very similar to the BMW X7, however. And speaking of all of this flagship SUV competition, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings, because we've looked at all the flagship SUVs on the market and ranked them in individual categories that matter more or less to you. Things like third row, cargo capacity, interior technology, powertrain choices, luxury features, all of that is detailed there for you. So if you want to make an informed buying decision, definitely go to our website and check that out. Now, back to the GLS, you will notice that we have buttons on all the sides. So the right side is for the third row. In order to fold it down, you just press that button right there, and then that's going to go ahead and fold it down the third row of seats. So now we've got those folded down. Let's go ahead and also get the second row folded down. I do like that you have buttons to just really power do everything here when it comes to folding the seats. That's certainly very nice. And let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as overall cargo length, we're looking at 89 inches of length behind Drew's 5'8" driving position. From behind the second row of seats with them slid all the way back, we're looking at 49 inches. As far as behind the third row, 19 inches. And overall cargo opening is 47 inches wide. And then the height, really good, guys, 33 inches tall. Let's also see what the load-in height is on this model. It does seem a little tall, and indeed it is about 33 inches. Now, as far as underneath of the floor, there is room for a cargo cover. There's additionally a spare tire, and one of the cool things that Mercedes includes is gloves, because they know if you have to change your own tire, you don't want your hands dirty, at least. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Mercedes-Benz GLS. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, but first we need to start with a hard acceleration.
And as quick as that, 60 miles an hour with the GLS 450. So this, being the 450, is the base engine.
Base does not describe this engine.
Yeah, it's hardly a penalty, that's for sure. So let's review a little bit of the specs again, like we did at the beginning. 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder. This also has a mild hybrid. We're setting at 375 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. So very good power figures, plenty to move this 3-row SUV around with ease, as you could see from that acceleration. And then as far as your other options, it's really only up from there. You graduate to a V8. The next step is over 500 horsepower with the GLS 580, and then the AMG, forget about it.
Yeah.
Like we do have a review on the channel if you want to check out the AMG. It's silly for sure, with over 600 horsepower in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not a bad powertrain in the GLS lineup. Now, I will say that probably 90% of people will end up with this GLS 450, at least from what we see in our area. This is a great powertrain option. Very smooth, very refined power delivery, and as you can see, plenty of power. 0 to 60 is going to be sitting at around 5.8 seconds for the 450, 4.7 seconds for the 580, and then the AMG is 4.1 seconds. So really not that much faster for picking the V8 options over this.
And let's talk about the other element of the powertrain, which is the transmission, of course. This has the 9-speed automatic transmission. Overall shifts are pretty smooth. This is definitely a vehicle that I think encourages you to relax, drive, slowly, luxuriously. And the transmission, I think, is tuned for that. It definitely has its smoothest, nicest shifts when you're just driving around at a normal pace. When you get really aggressive, there's a little bit of a gap between the shifts, but like I said, no one's going to be concerned about that, especially with the GLS 450 version. The AMG has, a different type of transmission tuning.
Yeah. Now, how power is routed to the ground, you have standard all-wheel drive as expected. And let's talk about your fuel economy. So your fuel economy is going to be sitting at 21 mpg for the 450 model, so that's quite good. The 580 is sitting at 16 mpg, and so is the GLS 63. So huge price penalty when it comes to fuel economy in the V8 versions. So most of you guys will be pretty happy with the 21, I think. But we've got to talk about ride quality. Like Drew is just kind of insinuating there, this vehicle is luxury focused at its core, and oh my gosh, when it comes to ride quality, you're going to have a really amazing setup. We have a standard air suspension on the GLS. That means it does a great job of just isolating out any of the road imperfections that you may face. 22-inch wheels on the outside, and it absolutely does not phase the ride quality on this model at all. The seats I find to be really comfortable up here in the front. The pillow, such an underrated feature. It's incredibly comfortable, and we also have the massage that works really nicely. I will just say the second row, not as comfortable as the front, but if you're the one buying it, you will be riding up here in the front more than likely.
Yeah, for sure. The danger is getting too comfortable and falling asleep behind the wheel, I'd say.
All right, so we are going 55 miles per hour, so I went ahead and toggled us into fan speed 1 so we can see how quiet this GLS is. Very good. 53.1 decibels is what we settled in at as our sound level reading. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to other full-size flagship SUVs. We can find that at confections.com/sound level readings. And indeed, that is a very good sound level reading. This Mercedes has acoustic glass and all of the things to really make a super quiet cabin. And it's not quite as quiet as the BMW X7, but it is still incredibly quiet. Anything in the low 50s really is phenomenal, and you can just, hear that library level quietness inside this cabin. Like Drew said, I think the biggest danger in this car is you falling asleep because you're really comfortable. It's real quiet. You can get a massage as well.
And let's jump into the Slam Dunk and Airball. I'll start with the Slam Dunk. That is just the level of luxury the GLS provides. We've just been raving on and on and on, so I won't reiterate, but obviously the comfort and luxury in this are insane. It's definitely one of the finest vehicles that you can buy, basically.
Yeah. On the Airball side, what we're going to say is we wish there were a few more 2026 updates. This car is getting a little bit dated, especially when it comes to things like technology. In this flagship segment, it moves fast, and there's really impressive options. So, things like the tech stand out a little bit, and we wish they would maybe do a better job of updating this model to have the latest and greatest.
Yeah, Mercedes, more affordable SUVs at this point have more advanced technology.
And let's talk pricing. So we start at $90,250 for 2026. That does mean prices are going to rise around $1,000 to $2,000 for this model year. That's for the 450. The 580 starts at $116, and the 63 AMG is $151. 90% of people will end up with the 450. We have the 2026 450 4MATIC, 90 grand. We also have quite a few option packages in typical Mercedes fashion. 102 635 is what we are sitting at for this model. And if you're curious as to where it's assembled, it is in Vance, Alabama, so it's made in the U.S. Now, if you're looking to buy a Mercedes GLS or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of all that, as well as our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that down below, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's talk about resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Mercedes GLS's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 41.2% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 17% of original MSRP. Now, it's worth noting those are lower than industry average when it comes to resale value percentages. It's also going to be very much on par, though, with the other German manufacturers such as BMW and Audi.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several trustworthy sources on reliability and combines them in a way that gives you a holistic picture. In this regard, Mercedes is rated below the overall industry average for all vehicle brands.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you have a 4-year, 50,000-mile basic and powertrain warranty. Mercedes has not added complimentary maintenance, unlike Audi and BMW. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the 2026 Mercedes-Benz GLS. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family, and we have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.